The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 years, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Josh Shigala from the Standard.io.
Howdy ho, neighbor.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to Issue 1. Issue 1, Bitcoin headed to 150,000, claims famed investor, slams bearish investors as drama queens. Meanwhile, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana to hit all-time highs in 2026, Bitwise predicts. And we've also heard of a Bitcoin price prediction. Liquidity concentrates near $85,000 ahead of option expiry scheduled for December 25th, December 26th, the day after Christmas. Josh Shigala, what do you think about everybody's favorite topic, the price of Bitcoin?
The price. Well, um, you can either say Bitcoin will go up or the global currencies go down in value. And both are sure things because one happens when the other happens. So the fact is that, Bitcoin was in a price discovery phase for the last 10 years. It still is. And that's why we see these massive moonshots because it's and down and up because it's like, what is this new technology? How does the market price it? But at the end of the day, it needs to settle into what its use case is, and I feel it is settling into that slowly, which is that store of value use case, and then of course you've got all the other cryptos which then get used as currencies like the stable coins. But as pure money instead of a currency, Bitcoin is there. And so, yeah, I can definitely see 150K. It's not a problem. I can see a million, I can see 100 billion, it depends how much money they print. And so we don't, we don't have QE anymore. We have, I've forgotten what they've called it now. But anyway, it's basically the same thing. It's just doing it more surreptitiously. So they do it in a whole lot of different ways. Little sections of the government print in different ways. So using the Fed, and so we will definitely see more money printing. I mean, there's no way. Like my big question is on the market if it crashes to let people buy some of these expensive stocks a bit cheaper, especially the ones in the know, and then start the money printers up, or if the Trump government's going to just not let it crash at all the way through the midterms and keep the money printers, the liquidity flowing. Either way, it's terrible long term. What really needs to happen is there needs to be pain for there to be long-term sustainable markets that aren't just ridiculously overpriced and massive inflation. Really, what needs to happen is it needs to be a bit of a painful sector. But politicians don't like pain, whether it's Trump, whether it's anyone. No politician likes pain, so they will always kick the can down the road, and that can is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Maybe they should call it a kick the snowball down the hill. But yeah. So, and my point is that Bitcoin will easily reach. I mean, it's a silly thing to say. It'll reach 150K or whatever. Of course it will. But when is the question?
When is the question, and it's better if they say the exact day. I don't know if the QE is gone, Josh. I've heard a lot of people say that they were trying to tame the economy, to do the pain, like you were saying, to try to do that. And then, as you see, the Fed went the other way now with the rate cut, and we're headed down. I don't know the exact number. I think it's around 2.5%, 2%. There's not that much more there before zero and before negative interest rates, where we'll pay you to borrow money. We'll pay you, which everything is just fine. So I don't know about all that and the larger economic things, Josh, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. It does sound like the adults tried to control it and put the cap on it. But as you say, no one wants that kind of cap. They want the unlimited money printing, the safety of that.
Yeah.
Stable coins as well have taken the lead as far as payments. We used to think that we would be the one doing tap to pay or doing click to pay. It's your Apple Card. It seems like it's going to be your Tether account or your stable account. No one wants to spend actual
Mm.
Bitcoin, even though we're in a horrible downtrend. So it's hard to say that, but the reality is still there. No one wants to spend actual Bitcoin. Talk about a bad year, Josh. We got beat by silver. What do you think about that? Silver investors are running laps around Bitcoiners this year, gold as well. The ETFs didn't help. The billion-dollar purchases by Saylor didn't help. Even the altcoins with tons of stable coins didn't help. Everything is down this year. Everyone is super depressed. People are even starting to give up on the Santa Claus rally. They like to say Santa Claus rally. I'm talking like the president now. I've contracted some
Santa.
horrible talking disease. But yes, Santa Claus rally. And I don't know if that's happening either. I love this option expiry, though. A little bit about that on December 26th,
Mm.
6th, I can't say it right. All of these options are going to expire. They think that that's been holding down the price of Bitcoin. And if we just get past that, everything explodes and it goes back up. It sounds like insane hopium, as well as the general predictions next year, where they're like, everything next year will be fine. But if you have to sell rent to pay rent today, you're effed. Josh, what do you think
Yeah.
about the talks of next year? And what about this options expiry? Is that going to save us all?
I mean, I don't think it's going to save us all, but um, yeah, when a lot of these options get called and people have to close positions, obviously they things happen in the market that change. So um, it could be part of it. Yeah. Fundamentally, it's all about people hedging inflation at this point. That's why I brought up the price discovery. I think we're beyond the massive, like, 50, 10,000, 20,000 a day sort of rallies. I think we're now at a closer sort of slowly going up with inflation, with obvious dips around FUD and China banning Bitcoin and stuff like that, that are still to come. Whatever, Saylor selling everything, whatever, we'll see it dumps there, but um, or getting margin called. Yeah, but yeah, that's the term, RMP they're calling it now, not QE. That's what the Fed loves, just to change the nomenclature, and then that way it confuses everybody. It's kind of like legalese, you make the language so complex that you have to pay very expensive people to do it for you.
I know it pisses a lot of people off, but I don't think Sailor can be margin called. I think it's fun to everybody say, oh, the MNAV is here and oh, he's under the MNAV or whatever it is. But I think that the way his company's set up with the board of directors and whatever, I think they're all in his pocket. And I think that they're all basically drinking the Kool-Aid. And they're saying to themselves, we're going to ride this thing 5 years. We're going to ride this thing 10 years. We're going to ride it 20 years. Who cares? Like, that's only part of our investable money. We have other things. We have other funds. Sailor's always get all in, get your house in, get all in. You know he has other houses. You know he has other funds. You know he has savings accounts. Like, he's not. I mean, I'd love to see a report. Sailor is all in, has 000 like the rest of you plebes, but I don't think so. And as far as this, I think he can hold. I think everyone's got to stop kidding themselves. Adam Back's been doing the patrol, going around to Twitter accounts saying like, this is nonsense. This is nonsense. I think he can hold. I'm not worried about that. I do think maybe the price could go down. I don't know if people want to keep attacking it, if the banks keep attacking it. There's
Well,
this 10 a.m. thing keeps happening, 10 a.m. in the US. They like dump everything hard. I've heard that Coinbase was selling today. Other major holders are selling. And then I think they sell, they drive the price down, they buy it right back up. And then the next day they do the same thing. And they can try that for a while. At a certain point, I don't know if it's going to work for them.
Well, the interesting thing about Bitcoin, it's always been this way, or crypto in general, is that it's fairly unregulated. So people can play very funny, silly bugger games and sort of be on that line that they haven't crossed, because there is no real line. It's a very blurry, fuzzy space. What I'm talking about is Sailor might want to crash the market and everyone to think that he's going to get margin call, because then he'll just buy more at the lower prices. So because he now can, uh, like, there's Bitcoin's gone through many stages where China could move the price Elon could easily move the price. Oh, I mean, if you go way back, you say like McAfee would move the price because he'd say tweet something. But eventually the market outgrows that. Either Bitcoin outgrows it or the market gets sick of the calls and then stops reacting to it. Um, but I don't think Saylor is yet in that space when if there is a rumor that MicroStrategy or strategy or whatever they're called now were to get margin called, you say it's not possible, but you know it is possible in terms of the function is there. So if the function was to be called, maybe he could have a controlled margin call. Imagine the headlines that would go out there, strategy being margin called. How many people would dump? And then Saylor and his goons could be sitting there ready to, load the truck up. And so anything's possible. Anything's possible. But I tell you what is, it's also very, very possible we'll see 150. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I tell you what Sailor would probably love is if we could trick some kind of a billionaire or some kind of trillionaire to get out there and start betting against him. I think he would love that because they're on Twitter, they're like, oh, if it goes below 85, he's below the thing, and then the board margin calls him and then they sell it all and it's over. I don't think it's that easy. I'd love to think that somebody with $1 trillion could be tricked into betting against them and drive the price down. I do think what Sailor said recently on Twitter is true that they bought $1 billion in Bitcoin this week and it didn't move the market. I think we're beyond movement. As Josh was saying, China used to move it, Elon, tweets, McAfee, all these people losing faith, large amounts selling. It doesn't seem to move anymore. But at the same time, I wonder if the MicroStrategy system is flawed and there's some way to take advantage of it in that it only buys Bitcoin. Because if it never sells and it only buys, then you have a predictable market actor who's holding a lot of coin, who, like he said, keeps buying 1 billion. Who knows? We'll go down next week. He'll buy another 1 billion. We'll go down. He'll buy another 1 billion. There seems like there's such a predictable pattern. If somebody could bet against him in the right way, maybe they could defeat him. I don't know the right market strategy, but if you knew someone was going to do this, I guess it's mainly about the fact that you can't print more Bitcoin. I mean, I guess if you could do the paper Bitcoin, if you could do the Coinbase or
Well,
allegedly
that's the
whoever's
thing.
going to be
And,
doing
and this
paper,
is,
that would help this strategy. Yeah.
yeah. And to be fair, the idea that $1 billion purchase doesn't move the market at all, even though, there's dark pools and everything else, but um, it is bringing up some speculation that I'm seeing that uh, the rehypothecation, meaning the paper Bitcoin, the fake Bitcoin, the Coinbase maybe, just says, yeah, here, we'll give it to you later. Bitcoin is happening a lot more than we think. And so that there isn't 21 million Bitcoin anymore. There's billions of them because it's not sure on chain. On chain, there's 21 million. You can't change that. But off chain, you can do whatever the heck you want. And because Wall Street's involved, there's a lot of tomfoolery and shenanigans happening that always will happen, and you can't really change that once you get in bed with the institutions.
Well, and I think we might see more of that if this option expiry does happen on the 26th, and if they can't use their power anymore, at least until next month or whatever the next quadruple witching options expiry is, whatever all those things mean. 4 times, 4 events happening at once. So we're going to call it a quad. But one more question, Josh, from the audience. They say, what about the 4-year cycle? Everyone's saying that the 4-year cycle in Bitcoin is broken now, which either means bad things because it doesn't react to the supply going down 50%, which I think it still will react, but maybe good things because it's going to enter a new super cycle and just be driven to the moon forever by the power of the banks and the investment firms.
Yeah, I mean, just like everything else, the market reacting, and now it doesn't react as much anymore to single tweets. The 4-year cycle was always a big event, but as people get used to these events, maybe they don't become psychologically as important. The 4-year cycles are important in the sense that miners have a certain amount of money that they need to spend to mine the Bitcoin. So when it drops by half, it's quite a shock. But how I like to price Bitcoin really and see if it's a fair price is what's the cost of mining a Bitcoin, and you can average that out pretty well. I think there are even people that do it professionally and show charts of it, but it's basic. I think the last count that I saw was that it was around 70 grand to mine a Bitcoin. So if it costs 70,000 to mine a Bitcoin, we're at around 85 now, whatever it is today. Um, then we're kind of at a fair price. Really, it's like 10 grand above the cost of mining. And so yeah, just to keep that in mind.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I was just seeing an article over there that says it may drop to 70, so who knows? But I know who knows, the magic Bitcoin 8 ball, the predictor of all the future. Josh, will the price be higher or lower this time next week?
I'm afraid it'll be lower. My triangles and Fibonacci's and everything have been pointing to sadly, but it's a good buy. Hey, you're not. Why would you say sad? Why should I say sadly? If Levi goes on sale, everyone's happy and they like storming the shops to buy their Levi's cheap. So be happy.
It's a Christmas sale for Bitcoin, although I still think it's going higher. I think 82 might have been the low. Who know? People are gunning for 70, 65, 55. Who knows? It's all on the board. Only the ball
Orange,
knows. And now,
Orange
will the
Friday.
price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Outlook good. Outlook good. The ball
Oh,
is
I
positive.
stand corrected.
There it is. Moving on to issue two. SEC charges Bitcoin miner for duping investors out of $48.5 million. A solo Bitcoin miner was charged by the SEC for misappropriating $48.5 million from investors by selling bogus mining agreements, hosting agreements that promised passive income. Allegedly defrauded, he raised $95 million from 6,400 investors over 4 years from 2018 to 2022. He sold hosting agreements promising investors a share of profits from Bitcoin mining rigs operated by his company. He misrepresented how many mining rigs were actually operational, effectively selling more hosting agreements than the company could support. Josh, just like we were talking about the paper Bitcoin, the idea of getting in over your head, seems like much the same story here. It's interesting though how this would be a small disagreement amongst family members, maybe $5,000, at risk. Instead, because of what's happened with the price and everything else in Bitcoin, it's almost $50 million, and it's the SEC attacking him and taking him down. It's a racketeering case. It's a massive thing, but it sounds like it was just one guy's mining operation. Josh, what do you think about this $50 missing or $50 million missing mining operation story?
Well, nothing's new under the sun. I mean, we've seen miners defraud people. It's been a major part of the fraud within Bitcoin has been the mining sector. And not the actual miners that actually do mining, but people promising mining, especially cloud mining and such. I mean, I've got friends who got in very, very early into Bitcoin and lost it all through Butterfly Labs, which were the first company to create ASICs and ship these ASIC miners, which are application specific computational computers. So um, yeah, nothing's new. And cloud miners have always been like this. They take money, they say they're buying chips, they say they're buying CPUs, GPUs, sorry, and ASICs, and then they don't, and you know, and then they start to pay out old investors with new investors and turn into a Ponzi, and it's very, very tricky to try to figure out if the miner that you're investing in is legit or not. It's very, very hard without physically going. Even if you physically go there, you can be duped because what are you going to count every computer on the rack and calculate if they're, if how much money they raised is how many machines are there, and it's a very
The
foggy
fans
space.
have to be spinning and the air has to be a certain temperature, and yeah.
Yeah. You're just much better off buying Bitcoin, unfortunately, because I do like I do like the idea of people investing in the infrastructure of the mining. But yeah, people always think, oh, I'll mine, that'll bring in passive income. Well, guess what else brings in sort of passive income through capital gains if you can hold it long enough is just holding the coin.
It's kind of the second level of my computer will make money for me while I sleep. Now you're like, I'll rent someone else's computer and it will make money for me while I sleep. And both of them are
Yeah.
too good to be true because they are too good to be true. As they always say, the cloud is just someone else's computer. And in this case, there weren't as many computers as what they said. Although, like you said, Josh, I think it comes back to what you said last week. What is a scam? Maybe this guy starts out with 10 miners, buys 100, has a shipping problem, can't get the next 200 miners, takes in the contracts anyway. Maybe he's just always ordering more miners and he just can't get enough. And there's shipping problems and there's delays, and one of them caught on fire and three of them got dusty. And I mean, maybe he's trying really hard. Or and I mean, the rest of the article is a little obvious about what the probably allegedly operations are going to be in the second half. It does seem like millions of dollars were transferred to family members, including $5 million to the ex-wife, brother, and sister, mother as well, leaving the U.S. with the misappropriate funds. It was acquired by Advanced Mining Group in 2022 and is now defunct. So the lawsuit comes after Congress was forced to debate federal measures to address cryptocurrency scams. A bipartisan proposal would create a dedicated task force to identify and address fraud in the digital asset sector. So
Oh my
maybe.
God, they got a job cut out for them. I mean, this is the problem with any of political solutions is that politicians just do something about it. And this is the big problem, that do something is usually just anything, and then they're like, look, we did something. And it never works. I mean, you scammers will just find a new way to defraud people. And I mean, if you look at the amount of scams just on text and phone, with old school, like, oh, this is the telecom billing, you have a major problem, or whatever. Like, it's just this is infinite. It's infinite, the amount of scams. And obviously, you need to like somehow educate people. I think education is ultimately the best way to go, because doing something legally and building structures in it, people that are doing illegal stuff are going to do illegal stuff whether there's laws in place or not. I mean, it's already illegal to defraud people. So like, I don't know. It seems like a losing battle to try to the government to do something about it, really, apart from
Well,
education.
and it does seem like they had a chance to ramp up. They had a chance to ramp up the police, to teach them about cryptocurrency, to prepare them for these scams, to generate these special divisions before they desperately needed them, to actually have experts in them who have been trained, who have gone to courses and go to conferences and learned a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff and really understand what's going on out there. They could have had that. In the same way, Microsoft, Macintosh, others could have beefed up their computer security. They could stop it from copying keys, stop it from typing in keys, do all kinds of more security things to prepare for this future where what we've been saying for years, that cryptocurrency is going to be valuable. Bitcoin is going to be valuable. You have a valuable thing on your computer. People are going to want to steal it. People are going to want to do crimes with it. This would interest the police. Maybe it would behoove them to learn about Bitcoin now, to learn about cryptocurrency now, before it's a crisis, before you have to like run around and have a task force and put all the lights
Yeah.
up. But again, it's mainly about funding, I think, Josh. And I
Yeah.
think that now the new funding is
Oh,
crypto security. They're going to get a bunch more money in the future. And the way they're going to get it is having these stories pop up, 50 million, 100 million taken, gone, and then use that to justify their budget. So once again, we always close the barn door after the horse is gone.
well,
But
yeah. I mean, look at the
just
Bondi
always
shoe. I
do.
mean, the Bondi stuff that's happening. There was so many markers. All these people screaming, "Globalize the Intifada" and "Gas the Jews," and everyone's just out in the street saying this stuff. And it's like, yeah, there's freedom of speech, and then there's incitement to violence. They're two different things. And government didn't do anything for 2 years now. Sort of even just keeping lists of like who's saying this stuff is, and maybe like keeping a, again. And now that this has happened, of course, now they're like, gotta get tougher on guns, even though guns are already mega tough here. Like you can barely get anything. I don't know how this guy managed, but um, uh, yeah, it's always reactionary. It's always ridiculous and pathetic, really, when it was obvious that it was something was going to happen somewhere.
Well, it is a really interesting story in a lot in Australia. From afar, Australia had that one crisis. Then they cracked down on guns. Then they had pretty much nothing except I think they had a synagogue shooting that was very bad. And then now they've had this shooting. And like you say, Josh, they've continued the crackdown, which, as much as we want to say worked pretty good, still didn't get us that 100% gun-free, violence-free society that we want.
Can't, I
And
mean,
it'll be interesting.
bombs are totally legal, right? You can't have bombs. Yet these guys had bombs in their car that they made themselves. Like it doesn't matter if you can't crack down on one, but politically, I guess, you get up there and you say we're going to crack down on it, then you get some brownie points for it, I guess, politically.
Well, I mean, what's interesting, I mean, there's a major comparison, of course, the American society and the Australian society. In Australia, I don't know the exact details, but the government is structured so that if they want to get something done, they can get it done. And they've put forward additional bans on these weapons, which have gone through. In America, basically, the NRA rules our society, and they've decided that no matter what happens, no matter how much violence there is, we're not going to reduce our right to have hunting weapons. And if you really drill down, they're talking about society overthrow weapons and this belief that the Constitution has a reset button in it and that you could just overthrow the Constitution with exceptional violence if you feel that you have a grievance that hasn't been solved by the written and legal system, which is an
Well,
absurd thing for the Constitution to have. It doesn't have it.
I mean, it's very difficult, and I hate to change this to a gun conversation. We'll end it up, soon. But to compare Australia and America is very, very difficult because Australia didn't have many guns in the first place. It really didn't. And
It's
America
shocking
had
that
a head load of guns.
no one thought to arm the convicts. If only we had armed those convicts.
Well, I mean, the weird thing is
Australian history
Australia.
jokes.
Yeah, Australian history jokes. Well, look, the thing is that we had the ability to buy guns. It's just not many people had them and this and that. So to collect them, it was quite easy. In America, you can't just ban the gun because there's so many of them. They're proliferated. If you ban them, they will just go underground and the baddies will have them only. I got to admit that that's something that is a truth, and that's the difference a lot. I think culturally is also what's important with violence. I mean, the fact that uh, gun violence is so sort of, and this sort of thug life thing, especially in rap music and stuff, it's so massive over there. I think that also has a part to play. Culture has a lot of part to play of the violence because you get just as many guns in Switzerland and there's hardly any shooting as America. So yeah, it's a very difficult topic and a large one. But
I think Switzerland's a bad example because they have many guns because they're part of the military, so they're kind of trained to have them, so it's a more safe thing. I think in America, access to guns is part of the problem. I'm not sure about hip hop anymore, especially with Snoop Dogg hosting the Olympics and being Martha Stewart's best friend. Back in the day when I was in school, it was murder was the case that they gave me, and Snoop was very much a public enemy. And I feel now that the same way they used to talk about like radio or rock music, they're like, rock music's gonna poison your kids. They're like, hip
I'm
hop's
not
gonna
saying
make
it's
you
for
violent.
music.
And the same for Grand Theft Auto. I mean, I know a lot of horrible people play the violent video games, and then we say, oh, it mirrors society. But just as much, it might be an escape valve where violent people play a violent game and get the violence out of them. I don't know. I think there's a lot more study, a lot more discussion, but we're not supposed to be talking about gun violence, Josh. Let's move on to the next issue. Check out World Crypto Network. We've got 4,682 videos, including some shorts from last week featuring Jess C, Dr. Orange Pill, Jimmy Song, and more. Check it out at worldcryptonetwork.com. Moving on to issue 3. Royal Farms adopts safer Bitcoin ATMs with fraud protections. Despite regulatory pressures on Bitcoin ATMs, they continue to expand into new spaces, such as some place I've never heard of called Royal Farms. Yet, these retailers aren't ignoring crypto ATM scams. They are choosing operators that combat it. And as it says later in the article, this software from a company allegedly called BitStop will stop you. Interestingly enough, that's probably not what they thought when they were naming their company, but will stop you from depositing a lot of money. If they notice a pattern of, say, you're putting thousands and thousands of dollars in the machine and sending it off, it'll say, this is a pattern of a fraudster. Someone is, frauding you, and the machine allegedly will stop taking in money that makes it money, a percentage of every dollar going into the machine, going to the operator, and will reject it and will protect you. Let's go to Thomas Hunt. What do you think about Bitcoin ATM safety mechanisms? Well, we've been talking about ATMs a lot on this show and what a threat they are and how it's going to get bigger and bigger. And the main threat is, as we're saying, is these people on the phone scamming people, especially grandma and grandpa. They keep them on the phone. They make them go down there. They say they've kidnapped their son, or they have to pay the IRS. For some reason, the IRS is accepting Bitcoin now. They never question it. They keep them on the phone. There's lots of great YouTube videos where you can learn more about how these scammers work. There's people who scam the scammers trying to waste their time, which is a noble pursuit, but obviously there's way more scammers than there is scammer trickers. I think we've seen that this was going to come, that the ATMs are going to be a problem, that it's going to be the last kind of Bitcoin on-ramp. Again, it's pretty much KYC in this country. You have to put your ID in, you have to put your address, all your information. But it is a way to buy Bitcoin in person. Maybe makes people feel more comfortable. Maybe it's better than getting it from a random person, although they close local Bitcoins too. But I do support this idea of having the machines detect fraud. I am skeptical of the companies that make money on the machines being the ones that will stop the fraud. As much as I don't think Josh is going to like it, I think we're going to see government limits put on Bitcoin ATMs to protect people from fraud, but in the same way, it will protect them from transferring their money out of the fiat system if they have a big conversion or if they think the price is going up or whatever reason they might have. Josh, what do you think about Bitcoin ATMs and the idea that the companies could put software in that would say, okay, Granny, stop putting in your $10,000. Don't send your life savings to this random account.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's noble, but I don't think it's the right way to go. I have had, like, we know these people ourselves, Thomas, who own these companies, these ATM companies, and I've heard stories of like people having an ATM in their shop and seeing this old woman coming in and feeding money and then like saying, don't do that, you're being scammed. And they're like, no, the IRS, and they get really scared, and they're feeding money into this machine, and the shop owners dived for the plug and just pulled the plug on the machine to save this woman from just destroying her savings. It's happened a long time. It's a terrible thing, but I think that the real way to battle this stuff is a better way. Nothing's going to be foolproof because scammers will always find a way around stuff, but is to have on the big screen, what is this for? Before we allow you to buy Bitcoin, what is this for? And they have like multiple choice. Pay the IRS.
You'd hate that, Josh. That's a privacy invasion. What is this for? This is my money. The bank is asking me what I want to do with it. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, but that's the only, either that or massive, like government. If government want to do anything, they could have education. They do it all the time with speeding. They put all these ads on TV, speeding kills. Like, if they want to do anything, they could do that, I guess. But fundamentally,
I'm just seeing the cookie warning all over again. Now, when you want to take your money out of the ATM, you got to say, Is there someone scamming you right now? Like, are you
Yeah,
paying this money to the IRS in Bitcoin? Yes, no.
yeah,
Has your relative been kidnapped? Yes, no. And then again, there's literally it's bad enough. There's a dude on the phone. He's like, Grandma, don't say that. Don't answer that. Whatever you do, don't answer the question that you say you're being kidnapped, because then, oh, they're gonna kill me, Grandma. Oh, help me. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're pretty good, these scammers. I mean, it's
They
an
are.
interesting idea, but
Yeah, I mean, like I said, nothing's foolproof, but uh, and the other solution is technical, where you have like a holding wallet. When you buy, it goes into a holding wallet, so it's provably there, and you get access to the keys within like 5 days time or something, because they can't stay on the phone for 5 days. So
yeah, but all of
they'll
that's like scammer activity where we freak out with the ATM company. They're like, they're stealing everyone's money and waiting 5 days, and they're gonna run off if the float gets big enough. And it's so funny that, and it also takes away the kind of immediacy of Bitcoin. They're like, I can buy it, I can move it, I can put it in my wallet, I can put it in your wallet if I owe you money or whatever.
yeah,
But maybe it
but it's
has
an
to go. I
education
mean,
gap,
maybe
right?
this is yeah.
It's an education gap, because generally speaking, I could guess that it's 90% elderly people that have no idea. And the reason why they're on the phone is A, that they don't say something stupid to the clerk, and the clerk warns them of a scam, but B, that the scammer can walk them through every single step because they're absolutely clueless. And so by having these machines give them a clue, um, I don't know.
I mean,
It's
obviously, for every countermeasure, there's another measure. So if you say, okay, if the machine detects the person is over, pick your age, 70, 60, whatever you want to put it at, then you have to fill out like a questionnaire. Like, did you know that people call people on the phone and pretend to be IRS? Like, no, I didn't know that. Yes, I knew that. And then, choose your own adventure. Like, keep giving them prompts about like, oftentimes people have you send Bitcoin when it's not you, blah, blah, blah. But even then, I think that the scammer guy on the phone could be like, just push agree, Granny. Push agree, disagree, agree, disagree. We've got to get
yeah,
through this. I got to get them free. We need the money now. Click. Don't read the prompts. Click quickly. I mean, as horrible as it is, I
I
do
know.
think that they're gonna fight it that way. There's
Yeah,
a there's a comment in the chat I want to talk about as well. Starship says we should work on the ad system, kind of where these victims come from, attack the top of the funnel, wherever they're finding these people through the Facebook groups or through wherever their information is being exposed. And we could reduce the number of victims at the top rather than trying to catch them at the bottom where they're maneuvering the victims to Bitcoin ATMs. And remember, in the past, they would, put money in jars and take it to the post office, and they would send the money to someone, to the courier, to someone else, to someone else. I mean, it just had more steps. Bitcoin's
yeah,
eliminated some of the steps for them. But these scams have been with us since the beginning of computers, since the beginning of mail or postal service, wherever you want to start. What do you
yeah.
think, Josh?
It's
What about
very
like that,
similar.
getting less victims?
It's a very similar problem to like to email spam, is that it's very hard to figure out which emails are legit and which emails are spam, and so a caller, I think LLMs have a part to play here, maybe local LLMs on a phone, very light ones that just basically look for patterns of scams while people are talking, and it's local, so it's not being put to the cloud to OpenAI or something, and it just says, hey, someone's saying that RS asking for Bitcoin, and just hangs up or whatever. It's just, a protection system. It's basically a spam blocker, a fraud
All you have to
blocker.
do, it's so funny. Everything just violates all of your privacy. If you only let them listen to all of your phone calls, they could protect
No,
you
I'm
by
saying,
having
I'm,
hang up
I'm
on
saying
scammers.
it's a local LLM.
I was more worried the other way, Josh, that the LLMs are going to make these scams so much better. We're not going to see broken
They
English
will.
anymore. No more two spaces after a period or
Yeah.
misspellings. All of that will be
Rustful
perfect.
American accent.
Yep, perfect Liam Neeson accent. Color pictures of him in the hospital with a broken leg, like desperately needs your help. Like, come on, Granny, you've got to help Liam. Liam's in the hospital. So,
Your Liam Neeson accent's awesome.
oh man, well they had it on Stern. There's one of the staffers on Stern. His mom was like tricked and like sends hundreds of dollars to Liam Neeson, and their accent's worse than mine. and their pictures are worse. And yet, at the same time, I know that the AI is going to improve them, and the AI is going to give them better pictures and better scams, better targets. So I think this
Yeah.
fight's going to go on. But like you say, Josh, it is notable and noble that this ATM company is trying to make less money by not taking scammers' money and to try to make ATMs acceptable. But it's starting to feel like pornography. They're like, you can have a Bitcoin ATM, but it's got to be behind the counter. You got to have a camera on it. You got to have a guy watching it to make sure that it's not an old lady getting scammed. Like at a certain point, these businesses who have pretty good names, well, not really good names, but like 7-Eleven or whatever, they're still going to say, yeah, we don't want that dirty Bitcoin ATM in our shop. I
You could
think
do it where I
most
know
of
that the gambling places where a lot of poker machines are, like slot machines in these pubs, they only allow $200 out of the ATM there at a time, and for 24 hours. So you could do like the first time your card goes in, it only allows $200, and then 5 days later it allows more or something like that. But then the
I thought you were
scammers.
going to say we should be in the gambling places with the other vice, Josh. We should only be, you can get your Bitcoin in the strip clubs and the dirty bookstores and the gambling places. But
The old
and the
lady to go
limits
into
are
the
limits are a good idea, but we all know that, sadly limits didn't save Philip Seymour Hoffman. He just waited by the ATM to let him take more money till he got enough money to buy the lethal dose of heroin that he took. So we can't protect everybody. These rules are on, and even with the scammer staying on there, maybe they'll work in teams and they could keep the lady on there 5 days and just, lady, don't hang up your phone while you sleep. We'll be right here. I mean, who knows at the lengths that these guys will go to. And again, they think that the old people in these higher level countries or whatever, or first world countries is the wrong word, but developed countries, that they're just like fair game, that they're just
But
like
just
suckers.
just to
It
wrap
doesn't
that
matter
up,
that they're old. Yeah.
all these solutions are more free market solutions that I sort of head towards. And the same arguments apply for any government solution that gets put in. So if the government forces all ATMs to do X, Y, Z, the same thing is that the ATMs will, that the scams will get around it. So there's, really, the search continues for a solution.
And for now, I think we'll agree with Josh that more education would help. Good luck on that. Moving on to issue 4. Blockchains quietly prepare for quantum threat as Bitcoin debates the timeline. Altcoin blockchains are preparing for long-term quantum risk, while influential Bitcoin voices agree over how and when it should be addressed. Josh Agala, what do you think about the Bitcoin's reaction to quantum computing? As it says in the article, Ethereum and other altcoins, I think, so that they can get some press and some promotion, are saying, "Oh, we're quantum resistant, or we have a quantum protocol, or we have a plan that we're going to change the algorithm or whatever when the quantum thing comes down." We've talked about it before on the show. If quantum comes down, it breaks all the encryption. So it breaks your bank encryption. It breaks probably low-level military encryption. It breaks a lot of systems that, frankly, are more important than Bitcoin. That would be a bigger crisis on society. So it's fun that we're starting with Bitcoin as the first system that we want to make safe. It's like Y2K. And they're like, do we want to secure the legacy banking system? No, we want to secure that little 1% of Bitcoin that can be secured. Still, at the same time, I think the Bitcoin smart guys, they don't want this promotion that the alt guys want. They don't want the like quantum resistant Bitcoin promotion talking points tour. So they're poo-pooing it and saying we should just slow down. Josh Agala, what do you think? One side is preparing. The other side says it will never rain.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, half of me said a lot of the time, there's this narrative thing in Silicon Valley. So, for instance, AI had the narrative of like, we're going to kill it, it's going to kill the world, it's going to destroy it. And even the AI companies were pushing that because it's a great marketing thing. Like, our technology is so amazing, it could be the end of all humanity. In fact, we need a Dyson sphere. Like, like it gets crazy. So so then investors go, wow, this is the future. Even though it's totally going to destroy us all, we'll get it. Like, it's this narrative, and it brings headlines. And half of me, half of me thinks that quantum computing is a scam. It's the Silicon Valley scam that doesn't actually do what it does. And it's so weird. No one can understand it. Everyone's like, yeah, it's sort of halfway between this and that. And it's not a one or a zero. It's both at the same time. And that gives us billions of more. You can calculate whole universes in a second. And then and then there's the other people. I don't know, like it's a great narrative and it creates headlines and it gets investors to invest more billions into these things, and you see these pictures of these crazy machines, and, and then you think, is it a scam? Is it like that woman that said my blood test tests everyone's blood for everything within 10 seconds, and really it doesn't do any of that? uh I don't know, man. In terms of these altcoins, yeah, look, all of these coins are trying to get above the news cycle and try to get some sort of thing. So if they can come out with something, put a press release out, now we're quantum resistant, maybe they might get a little bump in price. Um, and there are hashing algorithms that are apparently quantum resistant. And and so to implement these things wouldn't be that hard if you're a small little chain. But for Bitcoin itself, it's not the easiest thing to just swap out because people get kind of iffy about swapping anything out in Bitcoin.
I know it's simplistic thinking, but I don't know how an algorithm could be quantum resistant if we can't test it with a quantum computer first. I
Right?
know that's just like nonsense talking, but I think again, Josh, the problem with this is we kind of have to humor them. It's like you have to build a fire escape, even though you know scientifically there's no possibility of fire. Like it just can't happen. But people would
Yeah,
feel so much comfortable if we built them this fire escape, maybe just a spiral staircase, something on the outside of the building that they think they could go down. If Bitcoin would have a quantum protocol or a quantum, a board or something, like five guys will meet and they'll say, okay, what's the quantum threat this year? Like the doomsday people with the 5 minutes to midnight or whatever. They could be like, we are 10 minutes to quantum midnight, or we're
yeah,
getting closer. And then they could maybe even Adam Back or whatever could say, okay, if we get to 5 minutes to quantum midnight, then we should develop a protocol and an alternate algorithm and a whole, set of things we're going to do when this problem happens. But until then, I agree with you. It's so hard to get the science guys on board because they just look at you and they're like, combustion cannot happen in this atmosphere. There is no
yeah.
oxygen to provide combustion. Therefore, quantum computers cannot happen. Maybe in 10 to 20 years of like really hard work, we could develop this fire that you're worried about. But at the same time, I think that the layman, knowing nothing about it, thinks maybe there's a breakthrough or a shortcut that's going to get us quantum computing in 2 years instead of 10 years, in 5 years instead of 20. And I think that the media, and especially the headline writers, love to encourage this. Every new article is quantum computers not so far off, quantum computers not. And strangely, what is this magnet to Bitcoin, Josh? Can you explain to me why they don't talk about how it breaks bank encryption, it breaks MP3, it breaks, buying stuff, it breaks videos, it breaks the military, probably low level stuff. Like it's a much bigger problem than just Bitcoin, but they only want to pick on us with this quantum thing.
It's so true. It's so true. But yeah, I mean, the concern is also there. Like, if it is not a scam, this is the thing about technology. Like, everyone was talking about AI for years and years, ever since the 70s. And then all of a sudden we had a GPT-3 come out, a GPT-2, 3, and then 3.5, 4. And it was like a massive hit in the face. It escalated everything so quickly. And suddenly we had HAL. So um, it it can happen, and I have seen it if it's not a scam, where I think it was Google or was it Microsoft? One of them came out with a silicon wafer that instead of these crazy big things that can work at room temperatures, um, that apparently does quantum, and the quantum have way more qubits and this and that and the other stuff. But yeah, I don't know. um, it can happen. So if it's not a scam, you can definitely have shortcuts that happen. Yeah.
We do have an update from the chat. Shout out to Pacman777 for sending us $10. He or she says, they have made advances in the hardware, but it seems like creating the software for quantum computers is more of a problem. So we'll keep an eye
Oh,
on that. There's also chat. They're saying, let's see, BTC Moon Guy says, I agree, total FUD and a scam. This will not be an issue in our lifetime. Other people, they say, ChatGPT says, not anytime soon. Credible estimates 10 to 20 years away. And I agree with that. And I agree with that from a scientific perspective. But then I look at these altcoins who are clearly going to get some press out of this. And I think that if Bitcoiners could just humor them as if it were Y2K, and we all shook our heads and say, oh, the clock isn't that bad. Most programs are written better than that, blah, blah, blah. You know, we'll probably be fine. We kind of need to have a quantum division and a quantum board, and because then at least we could say Bitcoin has a plan to be quantum resistant, and maybe MIT could do this, or some school, somebody that's bored at their class could do this. It doesn't have to be professional. Remember, the Bitcoin Foundation was just created out of nothing, and then they started taking in tons of Bitcoin, and then Brock Pierce somehow became president for life. I'm not sure when that happened. Then it was there was going to be no more election. I remember there was an election, and everyone's like, "Oh, who's going to win?" And we were trying to get Chris Ellis to run and make it more of a ground up community organization, but it became more of a thing for Brock's resume. But don't you think we need, even if it's just window dressing, Josh, like the Bitcoin Quantum Committee? Don't we need something like that just to shut these articles up?
you too can become a Bitcoin core developer by simply putting a push request, a pull request. Yeah, no, just jump on GitHub. If you're one of these boffins at MIT, put a quantum resistant proposal through.
Well, that's all we really need to do, Josh, is put that pull request in there and just put that section and just have it be like Bitcoin quantum resistance section. And don't put anything and just get it added. And once it's added,
Yeah,
we'll say, oh, Bitcoin has a plan. We have a quantum section. We have guys that
yeah.
are working on it. And then just have it, have them fight it out on GitHub. And at least that would be something we could point to. And we could say, oh, the programmers are working on it. Maybe not our best men, but like many happy fine men are trying to, and women and et cetera, are trying to contribute to Bitcoin. But as it is now, I think the altcoins just they take it from us because they have a better story.
That I call that the global warming scam approach, where everyone just goes along with it. So, oh, yeah, we've got a plan. Every government just go, I'm saving the world. Our plan is net zero.
Well, it wouldn't be so bad if we had electric cars and windmills and things like that. Better energy. But we must move on to issue 5, bonus issue. Are you ready for this, Josh? Just added to the show. FTX insider Caroline Ellison has been quietly moved out of prison. And what great art. What a fantastic photo by Business Insider. How unfortunate for Caroline. Her face open, her mouth a gasp, and it says that she's been moved from federal prison to community confinement, either in a home confinement or a halfway house. She served 11 months of her 2-year prison sentence after wiping out families, wiping out retirements, wiping out investment funds, just crippling financially thousands, maybe tens and hundreds of thousands of people laughing about it, joking, having polycules, having food delivered, all the good times in whatever that country was they were in living where everything was fine. Josh, what do you think? Caroline Ellison, 11 months of a 2-year sentence. That's almost a year.
It's almost, yeah. Um, no, I don't really have much to add. I mean, I don't know. Uh, yeah, I don't know. If she, it seems to me like Sam Bankman-Fraud really got pushed under the bus. So all the blame just went for him, which obviously he should get a lot of blame because he was the CEO. But obviously it's a corporation of people, and Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. The courts and governments work in strange, mysterious ways that I don't get.
Well, remember, she did famously turn rat on Sam Bankman-Fried, ratting out her former boyfriend, as well as Sam Bankman-Fried's best friend from summer camp, who had known him all his life, also went rat on him. As you say, Josh, it seems like the entire company was run by one person. Seems like this one person is responsible. It's very wraps it up. It's all tight
Yeah.
in a nice little bow there. Sam Bankman-Fried was the only criminal there. Caroline apparently not a criminal. The other guy, I forget his name, not a criminal as well.
Yeah.
And you know, is this the face that launched 1,000 ships and burned the topless towers of Ilium? Maybe. Maybe it was Sam. Maybe it was Sam. It was just one man. But remember, it's a lot harder to say that she had nothing to do with it when she went on that podcast and they were questioning her. They're like, "Don't you have a backup plan? Don't you have limit orders or stop limits or any kind of these protections on your massive, massive, massive trades? Not like little joke trades that you and I make, like millions and millions of dollars on trades." And she's just like, "No, we have no limits, no protections, no stop orders. We ride this wild thing," and just how
But
over their head they were. Like if someone gives you a job, like just for the future, for anyone listening to the sound of my voice, if someone gives you a job that's over your head, maybe you shouldn't take it. Maybe it's not like maybe she wasn't the one to run this big finance thing. Maybe they would have been safer with someone else. Like it's just all these kind of kids running ahead, managing millions and millions and millions of dollars of other people's money and doing whatever they want with it. And I think we're going to see more of this in the future, not less. And I don't think that keeping these people in jail doing whatever is going to stop it. I don't think it's going to put any limits on it, especially given the millions and millions of dollars that they were able to pull down with these alleged scams.
yeah, but I mean, one thing that I've brought up multiple times on this show, but it's the fact that Sequoia, that they got no punishment for this because Sequoia, these large, massive, it's arguably the biggest VC in the world, invested in them. Obviously, no one else then does due diligence because they think, oh, Sequoia invested, and they literally sucked in like a black hole into Sam's playground and all the rest of them. Um, the fact that Sequoia can just walk away, a SoftBank, Paradigm, all of these that invested in FTX, that they can walk away with nothing, no problems at all, when they were the ones that really brought in the money. If it was just Sam and that girl there straight out of college building exchange, and VC came along and did actual due diligence and went, these guys are what what are you guys? You bring someone in to look through the books, to look through the paper, to look through the code, look through the structure, and go, all right, yeah, we'll give the go ahead. Um, but they did none of that. They just watched him play a video game while he pitched and thought that was so impressive that they invested. I mean, maybe the insider friendships and stuff, but fundamentally, they need to get some time. Something needs to happen. There's some fines or something, but nothing. Everything went to Sam Bankman-Fried. He got and I'm not saying he shouldn't because he was obviously a majority part of the fraud, but the fact that Sam gets everything, wraps it up, like you said, into a nice little bow, and boom, out you go. There we go. All right, on with the next thing.
Well, we,
It's
we all
crazy.
know there was only one shooter. It doesn't matter what the audio tape says. Everyone knows there was one shooter. It was Sam Bankman-Fried. And I do agree, Josh, it's a lot of these VC guys are to blame. But it was like a perfect storm for them. He went to MIT. His parents were Stanford professors. This is the resume that they're looking for. This is where the magical breakthrough comes from. And I love the idea of Schrodinger's cat here. They can't look inside the box. If they look inside the box at their investment, they'll find out, like we say, this random lady is running everything. They're ordering food, having a polycule. They seem to be on all these mind enhancing type versions of Adderall, all kinds of other fun things that we find out only after the fact. We can't find this
Yeah.
out when people are investing tons of money. We're on the cover on Fortune magazine and they're renaming arenas. It's only after the fact that they look inside the box, and that is their job, Josh, to do that due diligence, to
That's right.
check their investments like that. They
Yeah.
can do wild west, and sometimes it works out. The Facebook guy, whatever it is, maybe he doesn't look so good at the beginning, but at the same time, do we have to wild west it so bad and to not even
But
look? Can't there be stages of like, oh, they have 10 million, we should look in the box. They have 20 million, we should look in the box. They have 100 million. Should we look in the box? Like, and then that Enron guy gets down there and he's like, they're using QuickBooks. Like, at what
yeah,
stage did like somebody say like, how's your accounting department? Do you have like a professional accounting guy, or are you just kind of winging it using QuickBooks? And I know startups are really hard in the beginning. A lot of people have to do a lot of things that we might not approve of. But
QuickBooks. I
at
mean,
what points of this SBF thing are they going to be like, hey, FTX, we just want to check, make sure you guys aren't using QuickBooks, right? We just want to make sure you don't have Excel spreadsheets you're running this company out of. Like, I don't even know what the proper software. I'm sure that Salesforce, some kind of giant company, has really good accounting software that they could use to track this money. But obviously,
yeah,
they couldn't do that at any stage because allegedly, what we've heard from the inside is that they're using the money for the Tom Brady advertisement, for the other advertisement to buy the next thing, and kind of operating similar to a Ponzi scheme where the new money keeps the thing going, and we have to keep spending the old money to keep the new money coming in. And at a certain point, we're going to hit a wall. But until then, it's free lunch and polycules. So
yeah, and just so that people that don't understand how VCs work, generally you have a lead VC, and then and they will do their due diligence. But Sequoia is such a big name. If they invest, people don't do any due diligence, nothing. They just come in because Sequoia invested, so they know what they're doing. And that's the unfortunate, and that's why I'm just so pissed at these VC capitals, because they're the ones that lost the billions of people for all the retail investors. They're the ones that gave the green light to these clowns. Anyway,
but they just sit there at their window like South Park, and you give them your money, and they say, "And it's gone,
it's gone.
and it's gone." And we're
Yeah.
running out of time for this show. Josh, do you have a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Um, no, no, I don't. I don't have. Oh well, I got no, no story of the week really. It's too personal. I don't want to share
I know.
something
Well,
too
just
personal.
Merry Christmas. I think we're heading towards the end of the year here, so it's harder and harder, as you guys know, to do these shows, to get guests. So thanks so much for Josh for joining us. Thanks to Jimmy and Jess and Robert from coming last week, and Josh as well. It's good to keep it going. We'll try to do one next week. I think it's the day after Christmas. I might be available. We'll see if other people are available. We'll do at least a news update so we can follow up on this options expiry. Very exciting thing happening on the 26th. After that, we're coming back on the 2nd of January, which might be okay. The party is the 31st, so people should be better by then. So hopefully we'll pull off a show then. After that, we hope to get back to a more normal schedule and trying to get guests and all that again. So thanks for sticking with us, giving us a thumbs
Yeah,
up down below. Merry Christmas to Jack, BTC Moon Guy, Maury, Dusty, Starship, everybody in the chat. Thanks to
yeah,
Roy for sending us comments, and Bill and One Man Army for checking us out today in the chat. Thanks to everybody who comments and says hello. And
yeah.
just
Love you
Merry
guys,
Christmas to
man.
everyone. Thinks it's
Yeah.
going to be good. Starship says, have a lovely, maybe there'll be a Boxing Day show the day after
Hey, I
Christmas.
like that you say Merry Christmas, Thomas. You didn't go full retard and just say Happy Holidays. That's great. Well
That's
done.
fine. Merry Christmas. Everyone have a good one. We'll be back the day after Christmas, so keep your eye on that options expiry. We'll see how it goes. But
Yeah.
until next time, bye
Bye
bye.
bye.